Feeling overwhelmed, burned out, or stuck in your head? What if I told you the solution isn't about trying harder to relax, but about getting your hands busy? Today, I'm sharing the unexpected antidote to my own anxiety, creativity, and I'll break down the 10 science-backed reasons why making things from paintings to podcasts can rewire your nervous system for calm and finally give you that mental vacation that you've been craving. Let's get into it. You're listening to the Soul Aligned Self-Care Podcast. I'm your host, Tina Stinson, and I had a stroke at the age of 39 from stress and burnout that shook my world. Now I'm laying it all out, the deep-level self-care practices and mindset shifts that I needed that kept me healthy, balanced, and thriving. Join me in this intimate space as we explore healing, resilience, and the soul's journey to alignment. This is where real conversations about deep-level self-care happen. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Soul Aligned Self-Care Podcast. I'm so excited about today's episode. I'm talking about the unexpected antidote to anxiety and why I can't stop creating. So one of the things I love to do with this community here is to share what's working for me. And as someone who has to be very intentional about my self-care and have to be very intentional about controlling my stress and my anxiety, I have to keep those things to a minimum, right? So I'm always looking for ways to do this that are aligned with, the kind of vibe that I want to live by and, just the way I want to live my life, okay? So recently, thanks to my talented children, who are all very artistic, I've been spending more time creating. And when I say creating, I'm talking about drawing and painting and just doing different types of crafts. And because I create in so many different ways, essentially this podcast is a creation, anytime we make anything, it's creation. But I've been really focusing on painting, and I am having so much fun with it. So I come from a long line of creatives, and I grew up doing this kind of stuff. So my mother was an artist. My grandmother was an artist. My great-grandmother was an artist. And in so many different ways, painting, ceramics, sculpture. My great-grandmother was a milliner. So just really, really cool stuff. So now, as I said, I grew up doing these things. So they were just like, I thought everybody grew up this way. But I definitely had a lot of experience painting when I was growing up. My mother used to teach us how to paint and do ceramics. And we had a kiln in our house. And we always had clay. And I could make anything out of clay anytime I wanted. And we used to be in paint ceramics competitions when I was a kid. So I just that was always a part of my life, but I just kind of strayed away from it. And, probably ever since I started my business, because I'm always so busy with that. So now I'm back into it. And now that I started, it seems as though I can't get enough. I'm having so much fun. And one of the side effects that I noticed while I'm doing these things, even thinking about these things, is I'm not stressed or anxious. And I think it's actually impossible to be stressed when you're in creation mode. So by accident recently, I don't know, nothing's an accident, right? We run into the things we're supposed to run into. But I watched this TED Talk by Amie McNee about art. And if you want to watch it, I'll put the link in the show notes so that you can watch it. She talks about how it's so good for us to be in that creation mode. And it's also good for the world when we step into our creativity. And I'm going to go over some of the reasons that is. But what she talked about is at a time when the world feels like it's on fire, right? And it literally is in some places. So we're surrounded by a lot of chaos. This is the time where you should step into your creation more. Embrace it more, because not only does it help you reduce stress and anxiety, but when you share it, it creates community. It also reduces other people's stress and anxiety. That's all good. And I think at times like these, if you look back in history, some of the most fabulous things were created during these times. So the reason I wanted to share this with you today is to encourage you to create, whether you think you're creative or not. And I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to expand your vision of what you think art is, right? So from the fine arts to everything else that we create. So you might say, I'm not creative, Tina. And I would argue with you because everybody creates. It's a human thing. We all do it. So you're being creative when you play music. You're being creative when you draw or paint. You're being creative when you do any type of craft, when you knit or crochet, when you make a garden, when you're cooking a meal or baking, when you're dancing, writing, podcasting. It's basically anything that you're creating. So think of something that you've created, either now or in the past, or maybe go back to when you were a kid. So I want you to just stop all. I just want to stop all the people out there from saying to me, I'm not creative. We all are creative in some way, shape, or form. And also, I want to add to that, you don't have to be like a talented top artist. You just create. And if you're really interested in doing this, I would advise you to go on YouTube and just follow a few creators on there. I've learned so much, and I've learned how some things are so easy and you don't really have to have any talent to do them. So the results that you get when you step into being creative are amazing. They're almost unbelievable. I'm going to go over those. And I got most of this information from an article that was written by Mindful Arts Therapy. So I just want to give credit where credit is due, where I got all of these benefits. But there's 10 benefits here that I'm going to go over. Now, the first one is art unlocks relaxation. This is what I was experiencing. So when you lose yourself in sketching or painting, something magical happens. Even coloring, right? Coloring with your kids. Your focus shifts from your worries to the present moment. How many times has someone told you, be in the present moment? Okay, because then you're not, stressed about the future or worrying about the future or stressed about the past, right? So when you're in that present moment, that's that beautiful place where we all want to live. This simple act tells your nervous system, right, that it's safe to switch from fight or flight to rest and digest. The repetitive motion of a brush stroke or the back and forth of the coloring can be as calming as a deep breath, and it will help slow your heart rate and quiet your mind. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. I have a vicious headache. I don't know. I think we're having a snowstorm right now. And when I look outside, it doesn't look like November. It looks like January. And I don't like it. Usually the first snow is really, it's warm out still. And it's kind of it's nice, but it's blustery and cold and windy. So it looks like January. So anyway, moving on. Second reason, art creates mindful presence. So art is a form of meditation with a pencil or whatever you're using, paintbrush, crayon, whatever it is. It pulls you away from the racing thoughts in your head, and it brings you into that sensory world of whatever you're doing. It could be color, it could be texture, it could just be making something with your hands, like the crocheting, just the repetitive nature of that. This practice of being fully in the moment cultivates a deep sense of calm and clarity, helping you feel grounded right here, right now. Now, how many times have someone told you that you need to ground yourself? I even hear that all the time. I have to remind myself. So that's what these actions do. Number 3, art is sensory soothing. Sorry. So think about all the things that are involved in art. I'm going to talk about painting because that's what I've been doing. So the feel of say you're working with pastels in your hand, or maybe you're finger painting, or the sound of the pencil on the paper, the sight of blending the colors, which is so much fun. Art engages your senses in a gentle, grounding way. And say you're cooking, right? You're smelling the food. If you're baking, you're smelling the food. If you're out in the garden, you're touching the dirt. You have your hands in the dirt. You're grounding. You smell the flowers. You smell, all of the grass around you. Like maybe you're just cutting the grass, right? For anyone feeling overwhelmed, this controlled sensory input can be incredibly calming, creating a safe space for you to just be. So one of the ways to calm like an anxiety attack is to pay attention to your senses. What do I feel? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? So like doing that, art naturally just does that for you. So number 3, art is a sensory soothing activity. Number 4, art allows emotional release. Some feelings are too big for words. Art gives you a safe, nonverbal outlet to express and release them. So just think of your favorite musical artist. So I recently watched the Billy Joel series on, I think it's on HBO. I'm not really sure. But what I loved about learning about Billy Joel, because I'm from Long Island, anybody from Long Island knows about Billy Joel, right? So is every song and album he released was like a huge reflection of what he was going through in his life. So that was his like release, right? So putting emotion into the pages makes it tangible and manageable. People do this with when they paint, when they draw, when they sing, when they play music, when they dance, when they perform on a stage, when they perform if they're in a movie. There's just so many different ways that we do this. So art allows for emotional release. So this is very valuable because a lot of us need this. So number 5. Let's see. Number 5, art encourages a flow state. Oh, the flow state. I love the flow state. There's so many different times that I go into flow state. So have you ever started a project and looked up to find that like an hour has flown by? It felt like 5 minutes. That's when you're in a flow state. Also, I've definitely experienced where like in a good way, like sometimes if I'm out in my garden, it felt like I was out there for hours and it was just like so indulgent and I loved every moment of it. And then it turns out that it wasn't. It was just an hour and then I could spend 4 more hours in the garden and I just feel so lucky. I feel like that is also a reflection of flow state. So the state of deep immersion is a mental vacation from stress, blending focus with calm to leave you feeling refreshed and emotionally balanced. I definitely go into a flow state when I'm drawing or painting, definitely when I'm blending colors, just so much fun. I feel like if you're working with your hands, with clay, definitely very tactile. So it's like very, I feel like when I'm tactile, maybe this isn't for everybody, but I feel like I go into a flow state quicker. Like when I'm in the garden, I got my hands in the soil. When I'm really, really engaged, that's when I go into that flow state. Okay, so number 6, art regulates your breathing. So the rhythmic nature of shading or painting naturally synchronizes with your breath. Without even thinking about it, your breathing slows and deepens, guiding your body into a state of natural relaxation. And I would imagine this is true also when you're playing an instrument, when you're singing, different things. Also, when I'm in the garden, same thing. So, and when our breathing is regulated like that, it automatically calms the nervous system. It takes you out of fight or flight and puts you in rest and digest. So it's just like doing that deep breathing, those deep breathing exercises. Number 7, art boosts your feel-good chemicals. So finishing a creative piece or even just trying something new releases a little dopamine and the brain's reward chemical. And this natural mood booster brings joy, motivation, and welcome counterbalance to stress. Okay, so I have to share something with you. I've been mainly painting what they call ACEOs, and it stands for Artist Trading Cards, omissions, and oh my goodness, I can't remember the whole thing, but I can't remember the whole what it stands for, but it's like you're making these little baseball size paintings and it's so much fun. And I think the reason I like it so much is because you finish it so quickly and you get that dopamine hit. And I absolutely love it. I'm painting bookmarks, the ACEOs. Maybe if I could have a space, I could share some pictures with you, or you could just follow my Instagram art account, which will be in the show notes. So I I could definitely attest to those feel-good chemicals. Number 8, art empowers you. So from choosing a color to completing a piece, art is a series of small, empowering decisions. It reinforces your ability to make things happen, building your confidence that spills over into your everyday life that helps you navigate challenges with more resilience. So basically, you're building resilience. And it is very empowering to have complete control over the whole project. You don't have to do things a certain way. There's no right or wrong. That's what's so beautiful about creating something. You decide exactly the way you want to create it. Number 9, art balances your brain. So creativity uniquely bridges the intuitive, emotional right brain and the logical, structured left brain. This harmonious collaboration brings a sense of mental integration and clarity, reducing that feeling of being mentally torn. And what I love about this is I spend a lot of time in like left brain when I'm doing my work, except when I'm doing like meditations and stuff, right? Then I don't feel like I'm in left brain when I'm doing that. But I spend a lot of time in left brain. And so I think that's why art is just so welcomed to me, because it like brings me back, grounds me, and it brings me back into that collaborative balance. Number 10, art builds resilience. So art is a safe practice ground for life. It teaches you to adapt, problem solve, and find beauty in the unexpected. This process builds emotional strength, helping you bounce back from challenges with greater self-compassion and grace. Now, I have to say, I've been working with watercolors, and anybody who has worked with watercolors knows that you have absolutely no control. Like you have you have a little bit of control, but once you learn how it moves, but it's almost like, just like you can't control water anywhere on the surface of the earth, you really can't control it on the page. So there's a lot of times where when you're painting, you have a vision, but it, like I would say probably 98% of the time, it doesn't turn out exactly what you thought it was going to look like. And I think that's what's beautiful about watercolor, is that a lot of times it creates something that you didn't even imagine. And so that's why I enjoy it. So when you do like acrylics, or I would assume oil and pastels, you know, the color kind of stays put where you put it. But when you do watercolor, it kind of moves around, and you have to kind of be open to something new popping up. And there's been so many times where I'm painting something and it doesn't turn out, and I'm like, oh God, this is horrible. It looks horrible. But you just keep going and you finish it. And so far, I'm sure this isn't going to happen all the time, but so far I've been able to turn it into something that I absolutely love. And I'm sure that that won't be the case all the time, but for the most part, so far, it's turned out great. So it's no wonder that I feel so great when I'm creating. So, and it's to the point where I just want to do it all day long. So I have this island in my kitchen, and I have all of my art stuff out on the island all the time. I don't clean it up. My island is covered with paint, and it just looks like messy, but I love it because I can just walk by. Like I'll be making coffee in the morning and I'll just do a little bit of painting. And that's another thing with watercolor. A lot of times you have to paint a little bit and then let it dry. Paint a little bit and let it dry. So I just leave it on there, and as I'm walking by, I add a little bit. And then sometimes, usually at night, I get really into it and I just paint all night. So it's absolutely one of the best things that I just rediscovered, I should say, about myself right now. And I just wanted to share it with you. So the question is, how do you add more of this into your life? Well, the first thing you have to do is find what you enjoy. And for me, it's kind of all of the above. I love to create. So anytime I've done like a business review of my business, because I do this often where I'm like, I want to stay aligned with what I'm doing. And so I like reassess what I'm doing, and I decide if I'm still aligned with that, or I want to dump it or do something different, right? And so every time I reassess my business, one of the things that always comes up, what I love doing, is creating. You know, so if anybody asks me, what do you love about your business, is I get to create constantly. I create meditations. I record meditations. I create a blog. I create the podcast. I create programs. I create coaching calls for my clients. I'm always in creation mode, and I love that mode. Now, when I have to implement and do the marketing, I'm not very good at that. But when I'm in creation mode, I'm lit. I'm so lit. So that is definitely my thing. But I want to go back to, I'm not, the people who think they're not talented enough or creative enough. So I ask myself, am I a great writer? Because I've been writing the blog for years now. No, I am not a great writer. As a matter of fact, I've become better. When I first started, I was a horrible writer. But I don't let that stop me from writing, because when I write my blog, I share with other people my experience. And when you share your experiences, it makes other people feel like they're heard. It makes them feel like they're not alone. And that's very important for me. So that goes for all of it. Just because I'm not great at something, I'm not a great painter. I can make some cute stuff, but I'm not like a fine art painter. You know what I mean? Just because I'm not great at it doesn't mean that it's not fun. It doesn't mean that I won't experience the benefits that I just talked about. And the same goes for you. So this week, I challenge you, and this will be your self-care practice for the week. I want you to create something. Now, if you don't know where to start, you could always go to the craft store or go to Michael's and buy something. They have like paint by number. They have so many different things that you can create at Michael's, and they have so many different kits, so you don't have to just like come up with it for yourself. But what this will do is it will start to engage your imagination and your creativity, and before you know it, you're going to be wanting to do more. Okay, you can even just do some coloring, like buy an adult coloring book, and you could do pencils, you could do gel pens, you could do so many different things. Go take a walk through the craft store and find something that looks like fun. They have all those wooden things you could buy and you could paint them. There's so many things. Also, this time of the year, I'm recording this in November, and we're all talking about canceling Christmas, like the big beautiful boycott of Christmas, which is basically boycotting all the big retailers, not small businesses. What a better time to create some stuff for your family. I don't know about you, but when somebody makes me a gift, it's so special to me. It's so special. So why not put these two things together, the self-care, and know that you're actually helping yourself when you're creating this, and then make some presents for people. You can even do things like make your own skincare. You can make your own soap. You can make candles. There's so many fun things that you could do. You could cook. You could bake cookies. You could make a gorgeous meal for someone. You could write a poem. You can start a blog. You can start a podcast. You could do the paint by number, like I said, or you could just sit down and color with your kids. I don't know about you, but I love coloring. Now, this is the best part. After you create something, I want you to share it. Take a picture and send it to me, or post it online, or share it with a family member, give it to a family member. But whatever you do, take a picture and tag me. I created an Instagram account for my new project, and I've created like an art persona. And the art persona is Tallulah Sunday. And there's a funny story behind this name, and maybe I'll share it with you someday. But there's a little bit of meaning behind that name. So it's Tallulah Sunday Designs. I'll put the link in the show notes. So you could tag Tallulah. That's my art persona. When you make something, but I would love for you to share it with me. Maybe, like I said, I'll share with you where that funny name came from, because it's a funny story. And I would like to say I am going to try to have the woman from the TED Talk, Amie McNee, on the podcast, because I think that it would be great to have someone who actually really, really knows what they're talking about talk more about this topic, because I know for a fact that some of you out there love to create and love art. And then I also know that there's some of you that are like, there's no way I'm doing this. But I really, really want to encourage you to try and have fun with this. I can't wait to see what you create. I can't wait to see what you share with me. And don't forget, while you're doing this, pay attention to how you feel when you're doing it. And let me know how that is. Okay, guys, happy creating. See you next week. Love you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new one. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps get the show in front of more people who might need this type of support. And if you're ready to take your everyday self-care even deeper, come join us inside the Soul Aligned Life Patreon. Every week, you'll get new self-care practices and tools to help reduce stress and overwhelm. Plus, we do a monthly reset to keep you aligned and supported always. You'll find the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. Until next time, be sure to take good care of yourself. Love you. Bye.